General's Cry, spin to win, shield crush build. Everyone is crazy about this build in 3.16 Scourge League, and now is my turn to present my simplified, I think simplified build version for my casual people of Path of Exile. If this is something that you wanted to take a look at but were a bit intimidated by, now is your chance to stick around and let's talk about it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Gyro. We are talking about General's Cry Shield Crush build. It's all over YouTube right now. It's a very popular build in 3.16 Scourge League, in the current league that I'm in at the moment of recording of this video. And I had to follow a couple of guides myself before I came up with my own sort of hybrid deviation from the official guides, from the guides by other people. But massive thanks go to specifically Navandis Gaming. I really like the way that Navandis has presented his version of this build. He educated me basically on how to best position this. I had no idea about specific jewels, about specific uniques that are ultimately making this build work. Straight away, let's get it straight away out of the way. I do not think it's a league starter. It's a league finisher. It's one of those league finisher builds that require quite a bit of currency accumulated before you can buy the uniques that will make this build work for you. So obviously the build revolves around a specific skill, which is General's Cry. General's Cry is a cry. Cry is not a spell, it's not an attack, it's not something like this. It's a thing of its own in Path of Exile. This one summons warriors to fight by your side very briefly from the nearby corpses. That is the most important thing. You do not get General's Cry straight away. You get it at level 24. So your life is going to be slightly different and a lot less enjoyable, spoiler alert, until you get to level 24 and can start putting the bones of this build together. But leveling honestly is not going to be something to write home about or look forward to. You will just make do with whatever you want to make do with until level 24, until you get General's Cry, and even then you still will rely quite a bit on other sources of damage before your Mirage Warriors, or those things that basically the General's Cry summons, until they start doing substantial amount of damage and you can just kind of start enjoying yourself a little bit. Does it make sense? Do not expect to enjoy yourself much until level 24. Let's get it out of the way. Yeah, other builds will not tell you that. I will cut straight to the chase. After level 24 and after also your Mirage Warriors, your Shield Crush that Mirage Warriors will be using, until the skill and supporting skill levels a little bit, there won't be much joy in this. However, why do I recommend this build? Why is everyone likes it so much? It's when you invest a little bit into it, when you are mid levels, when you are towards level, I don't know, 45, 50, when you have a couple of proper uniques and most importantly shield with a lot of armor on it. Once you have that, you will be really enjoying yourself. I think you will be enjoying yourself because the build is extremely tanky. You will be very hard to kill. You will only be susceptible mostly to damage from spells, yes, but physical damage practically will not exist for you because your block value of block chance is going to be really high. Physical damage mitigation is going to be really high. You will just basically walk through the enemies and let your Mirage Warriors take care of them. So General's Cry is the war cry. We're going to map it to left mouse click and you'll basically be crying out for your Mirage Warriors to be summoned and kill the enemies whenever you walk. So I linked it to my left mouse click, and that cry happens ever so often, you know, and with different abilities and with different passive skill tree points that I will demonstrate to you in the passive skill tree section of this video. You will see that I've reduced the cooldown of the war cries wherever I could. So my war cry happens on the cooldown of like 2 seconds or something like that. So it's really good. The Mirage Warriors are practically summoned all the time for me from the corpses, and we will talk about generation of corpses separately. What General's Cry does is that basically the summoned Mirage Warriors, the ones that are summoned from corpses around you, they will use the immediately linked skill. So in this particular case you can see that General's Cry is not supported by but linked to Shield Crush. So Shield Crush is another skill that needs to be leveled as quickly as you can, as fast as you can, that does a metric ton of physical damage, that scales from the armor or evasion on your skill, whichever is higher, I understand. So you just basically get the shield with as much armor as you can, which at this level 74 that this character is at right now, lowest kind of I suppose low end game I am at the moment. I think I'm just slaughtering the tier 6-7 maps with this build very easily. Yeah, so that's in essence all you need to know. So you need a good shield, and you need to support your General's Cry with that shield crush. What else do I have here in support? I have brutality support because I want to do more physical damage, and I don't care about elemental damage or chaos damage. I want to do melee physical damage support for the obvious reasons as well, boosting that as much as I can. I'm doing Impale as well. That is something that I took from Navandis, that I took from others who are actually relying on Impale as physical damage support. You have a chance to impale enemies on hit, and that's a good thing, right? And then we have life tap support. That is simply me. That is me using and modifying this build to make it more accessible for people without amazing gear and amazing life pools and mana pools. I need to do life tap here because basically otherwise I have mana problems. This build currently has mana problems if I don't do life tap. I know it seems like a waste, a little bit of a waste of a socket here, but that's how I had to deal with this. Additionally to that, while we're talking about, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag today about links and gems and key gear, I kind of recommend to you the Praxis ring, which you can buy very cheaply from the trade market, from community market, for about like under 5 chaos orbs. I would say 1 or 2 chaos orbs for sure you can get one, and this will solve your mana problems. You kind of need at least 1 Praxis ring, even high into end game. And if you don't know how community market works, if you have ignored or didn't see just previous video that I published about how to buy and sell stuff in Path of Exile, spare 10 minutes, take a look at that video, and all of these questions are going to be answered, and you will know exactly how to buy and sell stuff. The video is linked to you above right now. I'm going to do that for you. Okay, so that's the main set of gems. That's the main set that you are building, right? Obviously, I recommend the as much life and as much block chance and as much physical damage boost and physical damage reduction as I can on any pieces of gear that you have here. Now, what you see on the screen is a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous Sharknado, a Shark Cyclone effect that I got to use yet again with this build. I'm very happy about it. But ultimately, we're using Cyclone as per recommendation from my man Navandis in his wonderful guide. I liked his suggestion. We use Cyclone not as the main damage dealing ability. We're using it as a vehicle, and we're using it as a continuous generator for the corpses. We are also relying on one of the other pieces of gear that I'll show to you in a minute that generates corpses, but it's insufficient. We need to boost it by this also conscious generator of corpses. How does it happen? Well, Cyclone speaks for itself. It's a channel skill. You don't get it straight away again. You have to level up quite a bit before you can start generating corpses this way. So you'll have to make do without it until the point when Cyclone becomes available to you around San encampment, which is Act 3 of the campaign. But basically, what you do with Cyclone, you move through the enemies, you do a bit of damage, obviously you spread impales, but most importantly, Cyclone is supported by extra damage reduction fortify support in this particular case, and we are also using the cast while channeling support in this particular gem link gem cluster, which basically means that whenever you spin, whenever you channel Cyclone, you are also going to be invoking this linked spell, which is Desecrate, obviously. Desecrate generates corpses. Corpses are generated, you keep moving through the space, you keep war crying, as I just said to you, because your war cry is linked to your movement skill, to the left click. Corpses are there, war cry happens, Mirage warriors are spawned, they immediately charge towards enemies and they shield crush them. That is in essence how this build works, and everything else is physical damage increase, armor increase, massive shield, and that's how you kind of do this. That's how you do this. For the particulars of the build, for the nitty-gritty, for all the kind of things, as always, please take a look at the Path of Building link in the description. And if you are on consoles or if you don't have access to Path of Building software in one way or another, then please take a look at the screenshot that I'm posting right now on the screen for you, where I'm showing to you the actual passive skill tree that we'll move to very quickly. I'm not going to make any massive callouts here other than a few. It's an unfinished build because it's only level 74, so people who are pushing endgame, for them it would be just early endgame. So the Path of Building version is going to have a few more skills for you to take a look at. But in all honesty, most important stuff, as I already said, you are boosting your survivability, block chance, and physical damage wherever you can, and anything associated with shields. What is this lovely yellowish circle there? This yellowish circle is quite an expensive jewel called Brutal Restraint. It has to be called out specifically. What Brutal Restraint does, if you look at its description, it won't tell you anything sensible. You wouldn't be able to even tell what the hell is that. But what it does is it converts one of the keystones around in the radius, which in this case is this one that I chose to use, and it gives you second sight. Second sight blinds you. It blinds you, okay, which is a bad thing. However, what we do is we do it for a specific synergy with a specific other unique that we're going to be using in this build, and that's going to give us more benefit than negative, yeah? So, first of all, while blinded, we have a massive increase to melee critical strike chance. But now if we flick back to the actual gear, we take a look at this, the Dark Seer Scepter. Obviously, use of the jewel without this scepter makes no sense, so needless to say, use the jewel when you have the scepter as well. What does the scepter do? Well, because most of our damage, well, majority of our damage relies on the shield crush, relies on what the Mirage warriors are doing, rather than the actual physical damage we inflict, it increases global physical damage, well, global damage in general by 40%, that's massive. It gives us 10% global chance to blind enemies on hit, and enemies blinded by us have Malediction. Malediction, I believe, makes them take increased damage and do less damage, which is very, very good. It also increases your life by level, and it also says that you are unaffected by blind effect. So all of the negative stuff from that jewel that blinds you, it only just kind of gives you the vehicle for this item to start working. Does it make sense? Just very, very simple. I'm using Determination Aura to give me more armor, which is fantastic, and I'm using Flesh and Stone as well. I'm using it to maim enemies that are close to me, so that they just increase the physical damage taken. Immortal Call gets invoked by cast 1 damage taken support, not optimized set of jewels, simply because I didn't set of sockets, simply because I didn't come up with a good color yet. So this is working for low towards mid tier maps, that's not a problem, but this can be better. I certainly usually have like a 4 linked cast 1 damage taken support. Then there is the bulwark, there is the shield. So these shields can become relatively expensive if you want to buy them from the community market. And by expensive, I mean, again, by my humble casual standards, that would be maybe ballpark of 10 Chaos Orbs when you want something high armor like this around your level, which would be, you can start using this shield from level 67, and it's really, really powerful. For this level, it really does a lot of damage through the Shield Crush ability. And then I also have Ancestral Protector Totem, which I drop once in a while when I see enemies, when I see bosses or something like that's worth an increase. Otherwise, you kind of don't need to. A couple of other callouts, notable uniques. So this is Corpsewalker Boots. So this is they're very good boots, obviously, because they trigger corpse walk. Corpses summon as you walk. You just walk around, there are corpses, and your war cry summons the Mirage warriors. I noticed that it's not enough. Yes, they get summoned, yes, there are a few warriors running around, but I noticed that when I also spin to win, when I also do the Cyclone and Desecrate and summon corpses that way, in addition to Corpsewalker, there are just plenty of corpses around, and there is a lot more. I feel like I'm stronger. I feel like the build is a lot stronger when I use both. In all honesty, I do not think you need Corpsewalker Boots if you're using the Spin to Win, if you're using the generation through the cast when channeling, cast of Desecrate while channeling. I do not think that you need this, but I have the unique already, so I'm using this. Plus, the good thing is that it's increased movement speed, and you have quite massively increased damage if you consumed a corpse recently. Plus you're regenerating life per second. So even forget about generation of corpses, it's more about the added effects, which are very, very good from these boots. Do you need them? No. Do they make you substantially stronger? Absolutely yes. Now Ascendancy. Ascendancy is Berserker, so we are Marauder and we choose Berserker Ascendancy. first node that you go to at level 33 in the Labyrinth, or a little later, whenever you're ready to do it, will be Warbringer. It's the main thing for you to get first to start feeling much better. First of all, Warcries grant rage per 5 power. If you have less than 25 rage, that's a good thing. Warcries sacrifice rage if you have at least 25 rage, that's fine. And exerted attacks deal a lot more damage if a Warcry sacrificed rage recently, which will be all the time for you. Why exerted attacks are important? Because the attacks that are invoked by the General's Cry, which in this case is Shield Crush, they will count as exerted attacks. That's what you have to understand in case you're really new to the game. And if you're not new to the game, you probably wouldn't be watching my videos right now. The next time you go through the Labyrinth, the second time, I suggest that you take Aspect of Carnage. I know that other content creators, other authors, including Navandis, they actually suggest that you go other way first. But I think that for you as a casual, for you as a person who is just kind of wants to feel stronger before you optimize the build, I think Aspect of Carnage as a second go gives you more than the other nodes. That's what I personally think. So there is an increased damage taken, but 10% is nothing, and you do a lot more damage, so that's very good. Now, third time, I've taken Grave to the Slaughter, so when you gain rage with attacks and it increases your rage, yeah, and rage is a good thing when you're a Berserker, yeah, in case you didn't know. And finally, if you push further into the end game and go through the Labyrinth the fourth time, I would go here to take Rite of Ruin, naturally. So that is my intent with Ascendancy. Now, as far as Pantheon gods are concerned, I went with Soul of Lunaries because I'm always surrounded by enemies and I want to reduce the damage, physical damage reduction per enemy and increase the movement speed for each nearby enemy. So Soul of Lunaries is really, really good in this particular case. And I went actually with Soul of Gruthkul for now as a minor god to have additional physical damage reduction for each hit I've taken recently, which would be a lot of hits. So that is as quickly as I could quickly blast through and talk to you in a casual manner about this build. Is it the easiest build you already saw? No, it's not. But I hope that my guide clarifies it, clarifies the intent, shows to you the gameplay, shows to you just how powerful it can be and how hard you are to kill, while still being this pseudo-minion build, but it's not a minion build. I didn't explicitly point it out, but those Mirage Warriors that get summoned by Warcries, they are not counting as minions. They are not counting as minions. They are just those manifestations of physical force that will hit the enemies around you once they're summoned and then disappear. That's all it is. I really enjoy this. It's a good build. It's a cool build, but I never stick with them for too long because I enjoy more experimenting with other builds, talk to you about it, like trying someone else's builds, making them slightly more simplified. And that's all probably there is to say about this build. I hope you enjoyed this and maybe you will try it. Let me know if you tried this particular version, if you have any questions, and if I can answer them, I would be more than happy to do that. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Enjoy the build. See you later.